I think that would mean a lot. When it comes, like we talked to Goldman, we talked to JP Morgan, one of the biggest challenge is they're on their own book, they cannot hold crypto because there's no clarity on what's the classification of Bitcoin or Ethereum. Is it a security or is it not? But the moment Clarity X is released, I think we'll see massive buying power from these institutions, truly from the US.
Sweet. All right, so we're going to just briefly go over some video clips real fast from this Paris blockchain week. I want to give you guys a real quick update on XRP's price action to just knock that out the park at the very onset. And then I want to really break down for you guys the level of just insane accuracy and then also discuss market manipulation that's taking place right now and just break down everything for you guys. So two bullish clips that I want to play for you guys that I've seen from Paris blockchain week. Mind you, again, if you guys haven't watched these videos, the researchers dropped them in the private Discord. It's insane that this video only still has 1,500 views. So definitely go check it out. I shared it on my X profile. When I shared it on my X profile, it had 24 views. So I'm going to go out right and assume that me sharing this had something to do with getting some more views on it. But definitely go check this out. It's quite lengthy, 9 hours. Put it on 1.5 speed and go peep it. So that's taking place up until tomorrow. Actually, excuse me, today is the last day of Paris Blockchain Week. So I'll definitely continue to monitor some of the clips that come out of that. But we'll play some here in a second. XRP, all right, real fast. Just going over some levels. Nothing so far has changed, but again, just showing you guys the level of accuracy with these dark pools and these deltas that we have. Here's the video clip from our last update where we talked about price coming into $1.43. XRP has recently tapped above $1.34, turning it into support, which now opens the door for a revisitation of $1.43. Just like all right, so no hopium and no hype. We respected $1.43, or excuse me, $1.34, and we came straight up into $1.43 with the risk on sentiment that we've recently seen. If we can see buyers hold above $1.43, that is going to open the door for the next level or the next hurdle that we need to overcome before we get excited, which is $1.50, where we can see clear as day over here to the left-hand side. We had an aggressive seller that broke a previous support. So here you can see a support. Trapped buyers, sellers become aggressive enough to break that support. So we can assume that in this bearish candlestick, there's a large sell volume here. And so the question is if we can hold at $1.43, turn this into support and start to see buyers become aggressive above it, when we come into $1.50, do we see sellers passively defend where they had aggressively broken support before, or do we see buyers prevail, break above those sellers, trap them at the $1.50 range, and become aggressive pushing higher? If that does happen, that'll open the door for the next hurdle at $1.62. Anything above $1.62 opens the door for a revisitation and a possible next leg up to about $1.90 to $1.98 to take out the next intraday highs in this range. I don't have them marked off on my charts, but just in case the market sentiment continues bullish over the weekend, those are the next areas of interest, a revisitation of $1.90 to $1.98 if we can hurdle above $1.62 and $1.50. Downside risk still remains if at any point in time we cannot break above $1.43 or $1.50 and turn them into support, see buyers become aggressive above these levels, then the next likely scenario is a pullback down into $1.34. Same levels remain underneath of $1.34 in case of any shift in market sentiment. We still have $1.27, which has acted as a support, $1.18 and $1.11. Far stretch away from where we're currently trading at right now. Market sentiment is risk on. So just be mindful of that. If I'm going to be completely honest, once the sentiment flips back risk on and institutions start coming back in, guys and gals, we're running out of time to accumulate digital assets at these prices, right? Not financial advice. I've constantly said this. This is the last opportunity for retail traders to get in at these discounted prices, because the next market cycle to the upside, when we add $4 trillion, $5 trillion, $6 trillion to this market cap, it's not coming back down to $2 trillion, y'all. All right. So just, be cognizant. There's still downside risk, but at the same time, great opportunity in the digital asset ecosystem, not financial advice. All right. So hopefully you guys have been tracking those levels, giving you guys these level to level updates. I really hope that you guys enjoy that in our community. We don't, you know, overdo it. We don't freaking out like freaking outrageous price action craziness. No, it's just level to level updates using our institutional order flow and dark pools, and it's accurate, right? So love to see it. Breaking, the S&P 500 officially hits a new record high, now up plus 11% since the March 30th low. And in response to this post from the Kobesi letter, I said, seeing the NASDAQ recover all its losses and flip risk on, approaching all-time highs in a matter of days is insane. As soon as regulations are clear, give me a second. As soon as regulations are clear for crypto, you are about to witness the biggest bull market cycle in the 17 years of crypto's life cycle. 5 to 6 trillion dollars will be met swiftly. Double digit $10 trillion plus will be following shortly after. With a global population of over 8 billion, less than 500 million people will be able to say that they got into crypto at $2 trillion market cap. Let that sink in. All right. And so the reason why I'm highlighting the recovery that the NASDAQ has had is because of how fast market sentiment can go from all this bearish price action that we've seen over the last 2 months from the beginning of the year, starting in roughly around February till now, and then have a smooth, swift recovery as soon as risk asset appetite flips back risk on. And the reason why we have not seen this aggressive bullish momentum in crypto is because, again, crypto is still heavily unregulated. So large institutional players are still sitting on the sidelines. Now, don't take that from me. Here you have a individual representative from a large organization in the crypto ecosystem, Bybit, right? 70 million plus traders on the platform, one of the biggest exchanges in crypto. And you have Ben Z, the co-founder of Bybit, and he says in this video that institutions like JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, like all these large banks, they cannot hold crypto yet on their balance sheet. But as soon as the Clarity Act is passed, they can. And that is when you'll see an explosion in crypto. So take a second and listen to what he says here.
And all of that. Our hope is Clarity Act would, I think that would mean a lot. When it comes, like we talked to Goldman, we talked to JP Morgan, one of the biggest challenge is they're on their own book, they cannot hold crypto because there's no clarity on what's the classification of Bitcoin or Ethereum. Is it a security, is it not? But the moment Clarity Act is released, I think we'll see massive buying power from these institutions, truly from the US. So far, they haven't really started yet because there's no clarity. Yeah.
So he just confirmed institutions have not started buying yet. When clarity comes, it will unlock massive buying power. And the reason why, again, I'm showing you this screenshot and the price action on NASDAQ is because of how swiftly market sentiment can recover. And I feel like we are going to see an asymmetric push like this in crypto when we get that clarity, right? We have a sentiment shift and risk on. We've had dovish Fed speakers come out over the past consecutive couple of days. They haven't pushed back on the rate cut probability. We've also seen a sentiment shift in the Iran tensions. Outside of the fundamental landscape, the monetary policy and the stronger U.S. economy that we've seen supporting the dollar for now, the Iran tensions and the geopolitical woes have been one of the key factors weighing on risk sentiment. And once that's behind us, plus we have clarity and clear regulations, I'm telling you guys right now, we're going to see a move like this in crypto. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, right? Nobody has a crystal ball on when it's going to be, but when it happens, it's going to be very abrupt and people are going to get caught off guard. So just be mindful, prepare for that future. Here's another clip from Paris Blockchain Week. The representative escapes my thought process. I don't remember who this is. There is another crisis, or even if there is a crisis unfolding, it doesn't matter. Crypto will continue to grow over time.
Once they enter into the functional use cases is how you introduce those new types of asset classes to them and get them to go deeper into their journey.
I would actually kind of tack on to this conversation you asked about a few minutes ago about kind of the next crisis or what could derail it. And like looking back, like I'm sure people in this room remember something called the global financial crisis. The historic traditional financial system has countless, dozens, hundreds of examples of systemic failure. And then rebooting and reconfiguring. There's absolutely no reason to think that that will not be a pattern that you see in this market that's developing. There will be setbacks, there will be scams, there will be kind of untoward things happen, but that will not stop the advancement, because the advancement of the democratization of access, the lowering of the cost, lowering the cost of capital, those are fundamental truths of what blockchain can deliver. So we should expect to see that undulation of like high times and low times, but the progression will continue very solidly. So one of the aspects that's going to come more into bear as this comes into the mainstream is the elevation of new types of risk, including systemic risk. So for instance, what happens?
So then he just goes on, right? And I just wanted to play that clip to give you guys some optimism. You know, considering the market landscape right now, considering what we've experienced over the past consecutive couple of months, the major pullback, right? We know that eventually crypto will recover. Okay. So just hearing those two clips from the Paris Blockchain Week, I have a whole bunch of notes. I listened to the whole entire first day yesterday in the background while I was, you know, chilling and doing things for my birthday. But nonetheless, you know, just make sure that you guys are tapped in, paying attention. This was such a great panel discussion clip right here. So definitely go get some gems from it if you have some free time. And it's in the Discord in the research section. All right. Fast forward. So taking a look at NASDAQ, why it's so important to pay attention to this parabolic rally and recovery that we've just experienced, because I firmly believe that we're going to see something similar, if not even more exponential, when crypto truly has its moment. First, taking you guys over to the Discord in the SP500 section where we give the dark pools and the deltas, showing you guys the level of accuracy today. We're the only community on the face of the internet that has forward-looking data where our dark pools and our deltas are given prior to the move. So really all that's left for you to do is plot these areas of interest on your charts and then look for the strategy that we trade here in this community at these areas of interest to take risk in the market, right? It's really that simple, not even joking. So Wednesday, you can see April 15th, that's yesterday, at 2:08 p.m., Scalper updated the dark pools, and you can see here the 2635, that's where price was trading at, and he had highlighted the 26526. If we come over to where NASDAQ traded into today, it literally traded from the 26315 straight up into the 26526 to the absolute T. Slight degree above it, but nonetheless, still from dark pool to dark pool. So breaking down the entirety of my trades today, why I was taking these positions, why I had closed this position, what I was looking at in terms of fundamentals, all of probably the insider trader that's going on right now, and just making sure that you guys are tapped into financial juice, you guys are tapped into the fundamental section, and you're paying attention to these announcements as they change and as sentiment shifts from these dark pools to dark pools. So starting off with the New York session open, all right? New York session open candlestick is right here at 8:30. Prior to the New York session, we can see a bunch of consolidation, interestingly enough, that happened right at the bottom of the delta. Now, for some time prior to the New York session open, buyers were holding the bottom of this delta as a support, and they were constantly making an attempt to push price higher, defending the bottom of the delta as sellers tried to defend, push price higher, defending the bottom of the delta again. And right before the New York session opened, buyers tried to make one last attempt to push and regain control of the bottom of this delta. However, they failed. Right at the New York session opened, you can see that a large amount of buyers were trapped. Sellers then became aggressive enough to completely destroy all of the buyers that were defending passively the bottom of this delta. And this whole entire bearish candlestick created a new bearish leg, right? So not only did we break support after trapping buyers at highs, leading to a new structure leg to the downside or a new A to B move, but we also started trading underneath of a delta. And so again, that's why it's so important to have these levels on your charts, because you can see here, we had the delta prior to the New York session acting as a support. Right when the New York session opened, we had this massive bearish push that then turned the bottom of the delta into a resistance, where you can see effort versus result, sellers had clearly started defending the delta against buyers who were making an attempt to push price back above it, but they could not. And instead, they constantly kept getting trapped. And so seeing that attempt by buyers fail here once, so that's one attempt by buyers that failed to break back above the delta and start to turn it into support. We had another attempt here. That's now two. And what you'll notice is every attempt by buyers to break back above the delta, instead of breaking back above the delta and seeing higher highs and higher lows, what do you notice we see right at the bottom of the delta every single time buyers try to buy? What happens? Can somebody tell me? A new what is created?
A new low.
Yep, great. Every single time, look at this. Every single time buyers try to make an attempt to regain control of the bottom of this delta, a new low is formed. Boom. We see another buy attempt. Boom. A new low is formed. Another buy attempt. Boom. A new low is formed. This is clear as day, signaling to us that sellers are defending the delta, which is why, again, it's so important to have these levels on your charts, because without it, this would just look like a random area. But we know that there's a delta here, and so we can see in real time that sellers are defending it. Not only that, here for this trade, we had a triple moving average crossover with this aggressive push down. And so what I did is I waited for another sell delta held pattern. So once we had this new bearish leg from A down to B, breaking this previous support, I looked at this as my 1, looked at this break in structure as my 2, and simply all I did to catch this move was I took my fib from the high down to the low, and I waited for price to come up into the 79% sweet spot. You guys can see this is why I have my fib set up with 79%. As soon as price came up into 79%, we see a bullish reaction. However, again, just like before, every single time buyers made an attempt to break back above the dark pool, they failed. And instantly following it, same thing. What happens next? Bearish candlestick, break a support. So here's now your new support. It was now violated. Following that, after a support is violated, we should not see a new high created. Sure enough, here you can see another attempt by buyers. They failed to make a new swing high. I simply put my sell stop right beneath this bullish candle. This bearish candlestick activated that. As soon as it was activated, I took my stop loss nice and tight above the high. And my first initial target for this sell position for take profit was the dark pool at the 26315. Once I had taken profit at the dark pool, I let a couple of contracts run on this position after having moved my stops into profit. And then this is where I closed the trade. So this is where I started to shift my bias and my mindset. So at 9:05 a.m., and again, what I want you guys to pay attention to is how in this community, we had this information in advance, right? So here's the dark pools and the deltas, and here's the timestamps as to when Scalper gave this info out. However, look at the freaking insider trading that's probably happening. So at 9:05, right when price came into a dark pool, and you'll notice that 9:05 is right here. Okay, so 9:05 is like right here. So at 9:05, Fed Williams said, now is not a good time for the Fed to give firm forward guidance. And he also said, we are in a right place for monetary policy. So what does this entail? This means that the Fed is not in a rush to hike rates further, that their current policy is sufficient enough and it's restrictive enough, and that they're comfortable with where rates are. That alone reduces fear of additional tightening, which is bullish for risk assets. That came out here, you guys and gals. So who got this information from an institutional standpoint that bought before the news came out? Here. Now respecting the base, you can see that buyers started defending the base here and here. And then this is where we, as retail traders, got this announcement that is bullish for risk assets. This is clear proof that there's some form of insider trading where these fundamentals and these announcements that are bullish for risk assets are given to some extent prior to them actually coming out. Because we can see high, higher low, and now a new high is formed. That should immediately have your attention. Here's now your new 1. Here's your new 2. And here's the retest of the base, or your 3, where after the down candle, followed by one up candle, this would have been your first entry. So there was your first entry. And you could have caught this right prior to 9:05 when this news from Fed Williams came out. Had you have entered in here, this bullish news from Fed Williams, or this, I'd say, supportive comment for risk assets, could have given you the confirmation to hold this trade. As we continue, we had a nice retest of the dark pool, a bullish push from the dark pool straight back up into the delta, where now the question was, can sellers defend against where they had previously defended from before at the delta? You can see that they made a passive attempt to defend against the buyers. They prevailed short term, and they pushed price straight back down to test the strength of the buyers that had bought at the dark pool. So now here's again a new bullish leg. You have a higher low here, or a retest of the delta, last down candle before the up move. So here was the new bullish leg, or your new base. As soon as price comes back down into the base or the dark pool, you can see sellers do not prevail. They do not break the dark pool and start to create, like we did here in this area, lower lows and lower highs. And instead, we do the opposite. Every single time, just like in this area, when every single time buyers made an attempt to push price higher, it got matched or engulfed with bearish momentum. Look at what happens here. When we come back into the dark pool, sellers, and immediately following buy momentum. Sellers try to prevail, buyers trap them, and immediately engulf breaking structures to the upside. That's a signal now that buyers are back in control, or they're showing their hand. One last time, sellers try to throw up a passive defense, testing the strength of the buyers in this area. Buyers win, and boom, we see now a new bullish leg. Immediately following this bullish push, this is now your new A to B move. We come back in this one bearish candlestick to retest the base, and look at what comes out right at the retest of the base. Look at this. Trump informed Lebanon's president that a ceasefire would be declared in the coming hours, and this came out at 9:25, literally right at the retest. So I'm proving again, because you have to assume that we, on the fundamental side of things, even if you had an accurate update on financial juice where you're getting the info in real time, that info is probably still lagging compared to when it came out. So if on financial juice this came out at 9:25, here you can assume that it actually came out here. So again, I'm showing you another example of how these fundamentals are given to some extent to these institutions probably way before, just like how they were buying before the Fed spoke here. And here you can see the price action at the dark pool before Trump announced this here. How crazy is that? That we have this information in this community, you guys and gals. This is nuts, right? I mean, I don't know. I find it crazy that we have access to these levels so we can see where these institutions are going to be buying at and selling at before it even happens, right? So that was the second announcement today that was supportive of a risk-on environment. Trump informed Lebanon's president that a ceasefire, that vocab right there is net bullish for risk assets, would be declared in the coming hours, all right? Following that, again, we have another 1, 2, 3 pattern. So here you can see the 1 or the support leading to a break in structure, or the 2, and then the pullback to retest the base, or the 3. And yet again, we have another announcement from a Fed speaker, and it came out at 9:40. Where's 9:40 at? It's on the retest of the 3. Fed Myron says there is no reason to believe that the cooling trend in the labor market is not continuing. That is supportive of rate cuts, right? And just like how in the previous 2 fundamental announcements, we see at the 1 is most likely where this announcement actually came out at, and the retest of the 3 is where we, as retail investors, get the information of the data, right? So there was another continuation move. We have price holding above the triple moving average crossover, which happened here, making a new one or a new higher low that leads to a new high, creating a new A to B move, continuing the overall trend, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. This is now your new bullish leg. Price came back, retested the base. You can see that sellers lost ground, they lost footing. A higher low was created right after the retest of the base, and we see bullish engulfing candlesticks following short. So there was, if you did not enter here, another opportunity for an entry there. Now, personally, I was a little bit skeptical on entering in all these positions because I wanted to see that price could remain firm and start to support the delta before I started to look for buys. And so now that leads me over to my trade position for my buy position today. Okay. So once we started to see buyers break back above the delta, as you can see here, and I started to see that the delta turned into support, what I wanted to see before that is a break above these highs. So once price started to create these lows, lower low, lower high, lower low, I was a little skeptical thinking that we were going to see a sell. So what I did, instead of executing with market execution, I simply just started placing buy stops above these highs. Because if buyers are going to defend the delta, they're going to turn it into support, and all of the seller stop losses that exist above these highs are going to turn into more buy volume, and it's going to result in a sell squeeze. So as soon as we started printing these low candles, I simply started trailing this price action with buy stops. Starting here, we came up, retested the sell base, price made a new low. I trailed this price action as well. And then following that, right here on the higher low at 10 a.m., so again, you have 10 a.m. right here. What do we see come out? Israeli defense official on Lebanon. A ceasefire could be announced on Thursday night. We are at the crossroads. Nothing is final. And this came out at 10 on Financial Juice, which means it most likely actually came out here in this area a couple minutes before, right when price broke above the delta, and then buyers started defending it. That was my buy position for today. As soon as price pushed me into profit and started making higher lows, I started moving my stops into break even. I rode this trade all the way up into the delta and the dark pool, where I took profit from this initial position. And that was it for today, right? Simply just trading from dark pool to delta, delta to dark pool. All fundamentals came out, interestingly enough, right at where the dark pools met price action shifts in momentum and an exchange of volume between buyers and sellers. And then also showing you guys that each of these news events came out. It's interesting. It's like this. It's like price action has a shift in momentum and then comes back and retests the momentum, and then news comes out. Or at least we as retail traders get the news here. But in reality, what most likely happened is that the institutions got it here. So I just thought that that perspective was interesting, and just doing that breakdown for you guys using the fundamentals and the timestamps and then how it all coexisted with the dark pools and the deltas today was good for you guys to see the importance of kind of piecing it all together. But outside of that, so yeah, blessings to you guys. That's all that I had for today's breakdown. I'll let Aqua have the floor and break down his trades. And then if not, I'll open the floor up for questions if you guys have any.